November the 16th, 1974. Humanity sent its first intentional message to the stars. 3 minutes of binary code beamed toward a star cluster 25,000 light-years away. We expected silence for at least 50,000 years. We got something else. Something that appeared 27 years later in a wheat field in England. Something that made scientists question everything they thought they knew about first contact. The Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico wasn't just a telescope. It was a statement. A 1,000-foot dish carved into a natural sinkhole, powerful enough to detect signals from the edge of the universe. The largest radio telescope ever built. A monument to human ambition and our desperate need to know, are we alone? On that November day in 1974, scientists decided to reverse its purpose. Instead of listening, they would speak. Dr. Frank Drake, the father of SETI, designed a message. Simple, mathematical, universal. A greeting card from Earth to whoever might be listening in the cosmos. The message contained 1,679 binary digits. Not a random number. It's the product of two prime numbers, 23 and 73. Any intelligent species would recognize this. They would know to arrange the digits into a grid, 23 columns by 73 rows. And when they did, an image would emerge. What image? A representation of humanity, our DNA structure, our solar system, a stick figure of a human being. The Arecibo telescope itself, basic chemistry, the population of Earth, everything we thought an alien civilization might need to understand us. Or at least understand that we existed. The target was M13, a globular cluster in the constellation Hercules. 300,000 stars packed into a sphere 145 light-years across. If anyone was out there, surely they would be in a place like that. The message was transmitted at a frequency of 2,380 megahertz with a power of 20 terawatts, the strongest signal ever deliberately sent into space. And then we waited. Or rather, we forgot, because at 25,000 light-years away, the message wouldn't arrive until the year 26,974. And any response wouldn't return until 51,974. None of us would be alive to hear it. It was a message in a bottle thrown into an ocean we would never cross. But someone was listening closer than we thought. August 14, 2001, a Tuesday. The English countryside near Chilbolton Observatory, Hampshire, farmland, wheat fields. Nothing unusual. Then on August 19th, a farm manager noticed something in the crop. Not the typical circle. Something far more complex. A massive rectangular pattern, 200 feet by 75 feet, pressed into the wheat with surgical precision. When researchers analyzed it from the air, their blood ran cold. It was a response, a pixel-perfect reply to the Arecibo Message sent 27 years earlier. Same format, same 23 by 73 grid structure. But the content was different, altered, as if someone had taken our message, studied it, and sent back their version. The differences were specific, terrifyingly specific. Where the original message showed the chemical elements that make up human DNA, the response showed an additional element, silicon. Where our message showed the double helix structure of DNA, theirs showed a triple helix. Where we depicted a human figure, approximately 5 feet 9 inches tall, their figure was smaller, around 3 feet 4 inches. The head was larger. The proportions were wrong. Where our message showed Earth as the third planet from the Sun, their message highlighted the third, fourth, and fifth planets, Mars and Jupiter. Or something in that orbital range. Where we showed our population as roughly 4 billion, their numbers translated to approximately 21 billion. And at the bottom, where we proudly displayed the Arecibo telescope, they showed something else, a pattern of circles and formations, a geometric design that researchers recognized immediately. It matched almost exactly crop circle patterns that had appeared in that same region over the previous decade. The scientific community erupted, not with wonder, with dismissal. Obviously a hoax, they said. Crop circles are made by people with boards and rope. Everyone knows this. The Chilbolton formation was elaborate, sure, but still human-made. It had to be. But then the questions started. Questions that didn't have comfortable answers. How did the hoaxers create such precision? The formation was pixel perfect. Each square in the grid was exactly the right size. The shading was achieved through different densities of laid-down wheat, creating a grayscale image visible only from the air. The level of planning and execution was extraordinary. More troubling, how did they know the exact format of the Arecibo message? It's not common knowledge. You'd need to be familiar with SETI protocols, binary encoding, and the specific structure of the 1974 transmission. The hoaxers would need to be scientists, or have access to detailed scientific records. And the timing. Why 27 years? Why not 25 years, a nice round number? Why not 30? 27 years after 1974 is 2001. There's no anniversary significance to that number, unless you're calculating something else. Unless you're responding to when the message actually reached a certain point in space. Here's where it gets darker. The Chilbolton Formation appeared next to a radio telescope, not just any field, a field adjacent to one of the UK's most important radio astronomy facilities, as if someone wanted to make sure the right people would see it, as if the location itself was part of the message. And there's more. A year earlier, in August 2000, another formation appeared in the same area. A large face, humanoid but not quite human, elongated features, large eyes. The image was photorealistic, created in wheat with the same impossible precision. Researchers called it the face. It appeared exactly 1 year before the Arecibo response. A preview, perhaps, or a warning. The mainstream explanation remains firm. Hoaxers. Very skilled hoaxers with extensive knowledge of radio astronomy, binary encoding, and a bizarre dedication to accuracy. They somehow created massive, complex formations in the middle of the night without anyone seeing them, without leaving evidence, without taking credit. But some researchers asked different questions. What if the response was real? What if something out there received our message or intercepted it and decided to respond? Not in radio waves. We'd expect that. We'd be listening for that. But in a medium we couldn't ignore. Physical, undeniable, visible from space, crop circles as communication. It sounds absurd until you consider the logic. If you're an advanced civilization trying to contact a species that's just learning to transmit radio signals, how do you respond? You can't send radio waves back. They'd take 50,000 years. You can't land on the White House lawn. That might trigger a war. But you could leave a message. Something visible. Something that would generate debate. Something that would make them question their assumptions about communication itself. And if you wanted to prove it wasn't random, you'd reference their own message. You'd use their format, their structure, their language. You'd show them you understood, and you'd change just enough details to reveal information about yourself, your biology, your location, your numbers. The scientific establishment refused to investigate seriously. Crop circle research was considered pseudoscience, career suicide for any serious astronomer. The Chilbolton Formation was documented, photographed, measured, and then forgotten. Filed away with thousands of other unexplained formations that appear worldwide every year. But here's what keeps researchers awake at night. In 2008, another formation appeared, this time in Avebury, England. It depicted a spiral galaxy with a coded message around the edge. When decoded using ASCII binary, it read, "Beware the bearers of false gifts and their broken promises. Much pain, but still time. Believe. There is good out there. We oppose deception." 51 words. In English, in binary, in a wheat field, with the same impossible precision, the same overnight creation, the same lack of evidence. If it's hoaxers, they're getting more sophisticated, more literate, more philosophical. If it's something else, they're trying harder to communicate, and they're running out of patience. The Arecibo telescope collapsed in 2020. The massive platform suspended above the dish fell, destroying the instrument completely. Engineers said it was structural failure, decades of decay, budget cuts, deferred maintenance, an accident waiting to happen. But the timing felt symbolic. The telescope that sent humanity's first intentional message to the stars was gone, and we never built another one like it. We never sent another message. We got scared, or we got wise, or we realized something we weren't ready to admit. Maybe someone did respond. Not in 50,000 years, in 27 years, not in radio waves, in symbols pressed into grain. Maybe they came closer than we thought. Maybe they're still here, watching, waiting to see if we're ready. The Arecibo Message is still traveling through space. It won't reach M13 for another 22,500 years, but maybe it didn't need to get that far. Maybe someone intercepted it along the way. Maybe they've been here all along, waiting for us to reach out. And when we finally did, they answered. Not with technology we expected, but with something simpler, more direct, more impossible to ignore. They wrote back, in our fields, in our backyard, in a language we created. We asked if anyone was out there. Something said yes. We just didn't like the handwriting. The question isn't whether we're alone anymore. The question is, are we ready to admit we might not be? And what happens when the answer walks up to us, not from the stars 25,000 light years away, but from the field next door? In 1974, we sent a message. In 2001, we might have received one. The scientists are still debating. The fields are still showing patterns. And somewhere in the space between, the real conversation might have already begun. Are we listening, or are we still arguing about boards and rope?